Welcome to our chocolate tasting. We are so happy you're here joining us. Looks like a lot of you are joining us from the West Coast, which is awesome to see. A lot of Midwest, Southeast. That is awesome. So I want to just go ahead and welcome everyone whose first tasting this is, and welcome back to everyone who's done this before. We are so happy that you're here. I want to start by going over a few ground rules for tonight, and then I will go into the history of Ethyl M. And then lastly, I will introduce Tammy Jo, who will talk about what you all are really here to do, which is eat the chocolate. So to start, we have the chat function and the Q&A function. The chat function is mostly for you all to talk to each other about what you're experiencing, what you're tasting, what you're liking. The Q&A function is if you have any questions throughout the tasting, go ahead and type them in there. I'll answer as much as I can, but I'll save most of it for Tammy Jo to answer at the very end of the tasting. And we will not be monitoring the raise hand function. So throughout this tasting, we won't be able to hear or see you, but we do want to see how you're experiencing this tasting. So go ahead and take photos and videos of how you all are doing it at your home and tag Ethyl M chocolates and hashtag Ethyl M chocolates so we can see how you all are doing that. And I will go ahead and hop into the history of Ethyl M really quick. So that top left photo is Forrest Mars. Him and his dad, Frank Mars, built the M&M chocolate company that is well known today, produces M&M and Snickers. He actually retired in 1981 and moved to Henderson, where he started Ethyl M chocolates. And he used recipes that he made with his mother, Ethel, in their kitchen in Tacoma, Washington, that date all the way back to 1911. So you'll see the bottom right photo is our cactus garden, and that is just outside of our factory. It is 3 acres. So Forrest was also an avid gardener. So he built 3 acres of cactus garden right outside the factory. You can see that in the top right photo. And then during our holiday season, which for us runs from November 5th to January 5th, we actually cover the entire garden with LED lights. We make it into a really beautiful winter wonderland. So you'll see that in the bottom middle photo. And then that left photo is our solar panel garden, which is just behind our cactus garden. And that is 4.4 acres of solar panels. So we actually can power our factory during its peak production hours using just our solar panel garden. So that is pretty special. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce Tammy Jo, who will be your chocolatier for tonight. So she has been with the company for 20 years. She started out on the factory side, learning all the ins and outs about chocolate, how it's made, how the machines work, and then recently moved over to the retail side, where she trains people daily, does multiple tastings daily, and continues her education of chocolate through Mars. So without further ado, Tammy Jo.
Hello, everybody. I am Tammy Jo. How are you guys doing today? Thank you guys for joining us on our wonderful 4th of July blast of flavor tasting we have for you guys. It's going to be super, super exciting. So yes, as Lauren said, I have been with the company for 20 years. I absolutely love chocolate. It is one of my biggest passions. I know the ins and outs of the machines, and I'm going to share those with you or as much as I can. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask questions and we will answer them at the end. So without further ado, we're going to get into how to eat the chocolate properly. There's a very certain technique that you want to use to eat the chocolate the right way. And we're going to go over the rules on how to do that in the next clip. All right, so here we have the rules on how to eat chocolate properly. So I'm going to make you eat chocolate slower than you have ever eaten chocolate before. And the reason for this is because we're eating really gourmet, high quality chocolate, and you're going to be able to taste the difference. But we want to really slow that process down and really dive into what are we tasting? Why are we tasting it? Why does it have this texture? How is it made? And all of those fun, interesting facts. We're also going to learn about how the trees grow, how they're harvested, and how the bean turns into chocolate. So let's go over the rules really quick. So step number 1 is touch. It seems simple, we have to pick it up and touch it to get it to, you know, to shove it in our mouth. But we're not going to do that today. We're going to slow it down. So you're going to pick up your chocolate. You're going to smell it. 80% of your taste comes from your smell. So by smelling the scent of the chocolate, you're going to heighten your taste buds and get it ready for that chocolate and hopefully make your mouth water a little bit. And then you're going to go ahead and take a bite. You're going to chew a couple times, push it up to the roof of your mouth, and just be mindful of how the texture is. Let that piece melt in your mouth very slowly before you take your next bite and then overall finish the piece. As we're doing that, we'll talk about the flavor notes, how it's made, what does everybody taste. You can use that chat box to talk amongst yourselves about, you know, are you tasting the same thing someone else is tasting? Maybe you're not. And we're gonna have a really fun food trick on the second piece that we're gonna do. That's really interesting. So don't jump ahead, okay? All right, and the next tool we're gonna be using today is our tasting placemat. So let's take a look at that. So here we have the picture of all the pieces that in order of how we're gonna be eating them. And there's gonna be a slide for each photo. So right off the bat, we're gonna start the white chocolate piece, but take a look at your placemat here, okay? We have the name of the piece. We have sight and feel. How does it feel? How does it look? What was the aroma? How did it smell? Did you smell the filling or did you not smell the filling? And overall taste and texture and your overall opinion. This is really important because sometimes when you get to the third or second piece, you're like, ooh, this first piece is my favorite. And then you get to the second one, ooh, no, this one's my favorite. And then like everyone's your favorite. And you're like, well, which one did I really like? So definitely use that bottom square and put in your final thoughts on each piece. But my favorite part about this is the flavor wheel. So sometimes when you're eating something and like you're not quite sure what you're tasting, you're like, oh, what is it? It's on the tip of my tongue, because like it's literally going to be on the tip of your tongue. So take a look at that flavor wheel. It's going to help you identify what the pieces are tasting like. What category does this go in? And we're going to touch base on that when we eat all the pieces throughout. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this first piece. You want to have a drink on hand, a little bit of water or a drink of choice. So let's go into the first slide. This is what all the slides are going to look like for the chocolates. On the side underneath the feature photo, we have some suggestions on drinks of choice. So if you wanted to pair it up with a beer or with a wine, we have some suggestions on what would pair well with each piece, okay? So the first piece we're going to be trying is the white chocolate heart. This one is a solid chocolate, and if you look at it, you can see the little embedded design of Ethel M on there. Looks really cool. So go ahead and smell your chocolate. Vanilla and white chocolate tend to be a very light scent, so you might not smell very much. So again, you can rub it with your thumb to warm it up and then cup your hands and smell it again. Now, when you're ready, go ahead and take a bite. Just let it melt. Push it up to the roof of your mouth. Think about the silkiness. This is very smooth, it's very silky. And now we're going to talk about the flavor notes and then how the piece is made. So this one goes into dairy, it goes into roasted. You can taste the like cocoa butter in it. And it definitely hits sweet aromatics with that hint of vanilla. It's very rich, very creamy. So go ahead and just enjoy that piece. And I'm going to talk to you about how white chocolate in general is made. A lot of people ask this question, is white chocolate really chocolate? Yes, it is. And the reason is when you get to the mixing process of the bean itself and it is roasted, and we'll go more detail about this a little later on, but basically white chocolate is the cocoa butter from the bean itself. I actually have a bean right here I could show you. So this is what the beans look like. And basically you can either press the bean and squeeze out the cocoa butter, or when you grind it, you can then extract the cocoa butter out. And white chocolate is cocoa butter, cream, sugar, and vanilla. And that's the base of all white chocolate. If it doesn't have enough cocoa butter in it, it's more of a white confection. All right, so as you're enjoying that piece, let's dive into some fun facts about the cacao trees. All right, so we have here the map. It's the map of where cacao trees grow. So cacao trees can only grow 20 degrees north and south of the equator because of the environment. And the reason for that is because they need a very high humidity and a lot of shade. The best part about this area also is that it does not have a season, so it can bloom year round. And the next clip is a video we're going to share with you guys of how it looks when they're actually harvesting the beans. So let's take a look at the video. I don't know if the video was working on your side. I guess maybe it wasn't. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the fermentation process. Sorry about that technical difficulty. So here we have the process of harvesting and growing. So with the tree grows 7 to 9 feet tall. And when it blooms over the entire tree. So you see in the photo that it can actually grow on the base, on the bottom of the tree, all the way up into the tall branches. And they use a machete to cut the stem of the pod off the tree. Here I have a real pod, so you can kind of see how big they actually are in real life. You can hear this is dehydrated, so it actually still has the beans inside. I have two, so I have maracas. So yeah, they will have about 45 to 60 beans in each pod. And this is the stem. It's pretty thick, so you can't really like grab it off a twig and like twist it, and it's not going to come off. So they use the machete to cut off the stem, and then they can gather the pods. And then they're going to crack it open and get the goods inside. And this is what that's going to look like. So again, this one was kind of dehydrated. So this is more real of what size they're actually going to be in real life. This is just a rubber replica. So inside they're going to have like these gooey beans covered in this really slimy pulp. It looks really gross, but if you were to eat one of the beans, it actually tastes pretty good. It has a very mango, fruity, tropical flavor. It's really cool. And then the bean itself is kind of like crunchy like a nut, but it tastes like an espresso bean. And then after they gather all the beans, they're going to go through fermentation. Fermentation takes about 3 to 5 days. They're going to sit in a box and ferment and dry up. And I have for you guys some beans that our chef Mark Mackey started fermenting himself at his home. So I have a few of those, and you can see the difference. So here on this side, we have the beans that are in the middle of the fermentation process. They still have a little bit of like pulp on them, but it's dried up. And then this is what they're going to look like at the end. This is exactly what they're going to look like. Okay. So once they are done with that, I'm going to pause right there and we're going to dive into some more chocolate, because they're like, when are we going to eat the next piece? We're going to eat it right now. All right. Up next, can you guess what flavor it's going to be? Even if you couldn't see the shape of this piece, you would be able to tell just by the smell of it. So hopefully you didn't jump ahead, because I'm going to share a fun food trick with you. 80% of our taste comes from our smell. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take that smell away. So what you're going to do, I'm going to walk you through it, and then we're going to do it together. We're going to smell our piece. Oh my goodness, that smells so good. You can smell the peanut butter in the chocolate. So then what you're going to do is you're going to plug your nose, hold it shut, and then you're going to take your bite, chew a couple times, push it up to the roof of your mouth, and then release. Try to hold it for as long as you can though. Okay, so ready? Smell. And then plug, and then eat. That's my favorite part. It like, pow, just hits you. And look at that creaminess inside the peanut butter. It's so gooey and creamy and rich. This is one of my favorite pieces, but it's not my #1 favorite piece. But we'll get to that one. So this is our peanut butter. One thing that's really cool about this is that we don't order peanut butter when we make it. We actually grind the peanuts ourselves. So we get our peanuts from Albany, Georgia. They're ground, they're roasted and then ground fresh in our facility, in our kitchen, every single time we make this peanut butter. It's really, really good. I love this piece. That one is so good. I love the roasted flavor. Like when you smell it and then you plug your nose and then it comes rushing at you. So interesting. It goes into roasted. It even can go into a little of a earthy tone, even like a little bit of a woody flavor. Now you'll notice this piece is really, really shiny, and that's because this is molded. And basically what happens is it's going to go into a mold. This machine is called the one-shot depositor. So there's two tanks and they're right next to each other. And one will have the filling and one will have the chocolate shell. And they intertwine with nozzles. So there's an inside nozzle and then there's an outside nozzle that goes around that. And it does the filling and shell at the exact same time. And it takes about 60 seconds per mold. And the reason why it's so shiny is because it's cooling next to a nice smooth surface, but there's no air contact. And because of the chocolate being tempered perfectly, it has a nice shiny finish. With the other pieces we're trying today, they're going to be enrobed, and you'll notice the difference that they have more of a matte finish. All right, so if you are finished with your piece, again, you want to cleanse your palate with some water, so let's do that. Or your drink of choice, if you have wine or beer, that's fine too. I know sometimes it's hard to want to rinse that away because it's so good, but we got to try the next one. So without further ado, let's get into the raspberry satin cream. Take a look at that piece right there. So you'll notice this one, again, it has a matte finish. It's not as shiny as the peanut butter one was, and it has a very intricate design on the top of the piece, and that is a stribbon machine. So I will talk about how that was made, but let's dive on into it first. Go ahead and smell your chocolate. Again, I don't smell the filling with this one. Like with the peanut butter one, you could smell it right away, but with this one, you might not be able to. You can rub it with your thumb, warm it up a little bit. Smell again, okay, and then go ahead and take your bite. If you want to do the nose trick, you can. Again, you're just going to plug your nose on your first bite and then release whenever you want to. So let's go ahead and take a bite. This one is really smooth, really buttery, very, very rich. And it's really interesting when they make this in the factory because when they make it, it looks kind of like a buttercream. Buttercream is basically butter and caramelized sugar. When they pour it into the round vat that you saw in the photo there, it basically is a kind of like a double boiler. So it cools it down. There's another pot underneath it. So it cools it down while it's mixing. And because it's cooling it down very, very slowly and gradually before they mix in the fruit puree, it will get really, really smooth. And the reason for that is because they're cooling it down so slowly, the sugar crystals can't crystallize. And so that's what's causing that buttercream to be so smooth and fudge-like. And let's talk about that raspberry flavor, right? It just kind of like is an explosion of flavor in your mouth. It's so good and rich. Very tart, very tangy. It goes into fruity. It goes into even the floral notes, I would say. It definitely goes into floral. I taste like lavender or even rose is what I would say it fits into. With Sweet Aromatics, it does have a little hint of that vanilla, and that's also coming from the milk chocolate. And of course, a lot of dairy because of the buttercream and because of the milk chocolate. So, I'm going to take another bite of that one. Oh, so good. Now, if you guys are finished with that one, remember you're going to cleanse your palate. But before we get to another piece, we're going to get some more fun facts. And here's a shout out for some sweet moments. Happy 90th birthday. That's exciting. Okay, let's learn more about the beans. So what happens after the sun drying stage? They're fermented, they sun dry for a couple of days, they get all the moisture out, then what happens? Well, they have to bag them, and we sort through every single bean. So in the photo there, you're seeing a board of, it's a machine that they use to crack open the beans. So they put the beans in there, they close the board, they slice through them, and then they crack them open. And as you can see in the photo here, they have a picture of some beans that are pink inside, and then some beans that are more dark brown. And it's kind of like steak, if you will. We want our beans to be well done. We don't want medium rare. So they have to have that dark brown color, or we won't use them. So after we sort through them, we bag them up, they get roasted in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, and then they will grind it into a chocolate liquor. So the grinding and mixing process is where they become milk dark white. And also in the roasting category. So kind of like coffee, if you want a darker roast, you're gonna roast it a little bit more. If you want a light roast, you're gonna change the way that it's roasted. So same thing with chocolate. If you want darker roast, they're gonna roast those beans a different way. Once they are ground up into a liquid, that's where they can separate the cocoa butter to make the white chocolate. And then if they want to make milk, they still separate it, but then they put a little bit back in. And then they add some milk and some sugar. With dark chocolate, of course, they add more cacao solids, less cocoa butter, less milk, less sugar. After that, they're going to get tempered. And our chocolate has to be tempered in order to have that shiny look, the nice texture, and nice creaminess. One way you can tell if your chocolate's not tempered correctly is if the fat, it's called blooming, the fat will separate from the chocolate. And what happens is, like say your candy bar melted and you put it in the fridge right away and it gets cold and you take it out and it has that white powdered look, that is the fat separating from the chocolate because you cooled it too fast. So you have to cool it down, heat it up very quickly, and then like cool it down very slowly and gradually to the right temperature for chocolate. And then it's covered. So take a really close look at the picture of enrobing. That is kind of going to be a hint on one of the pieces that we're going to be trying today. So let's see if you can figure out which one it is. This is in the enrober machine. So basically there's a carton of chocolate pumping up and creating a curtain. And it goes back down into the tank where it came from. So nothing's being wasted. Once it goes through, it's going to go and get covered on all sides, and then they'll get like a fancy strip-in design onto it. So the strip-inner basically is a little trough with little hoses, and each hose drops a tiny little thin stream of chocolate. And then that shakes in different patterns depending on what they're making. It can go really slow, or it might go in a circle motion, and that's what it did for the raspberry. I got a little sneak peek in the factory once when they were doing the raspberry, and it kind of rotates in a circular motion to get that really beautiful interlaced design. All right, so next up, we're gonna head on into the dark side. And our next piece is going to be vanilla satin cream. So take a look at this piece. Again, this one's gonna have that little drizzle design, but on this one, it is dark chocolate on dark chocolate is the design for this one. And it kind of has like a little V shape, kind of like for vanilla satin cream. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go ahead and smell the chocolate. Now, right away, you probably noticed you can smell a darker, richer taste here. It's gonna have more of a, almost like a coffee smell to it because of the richer, darker chocolate. So let's go ahead and take a bite. Look at how thick that filling is. So good. So what are we tasting? Definitely sweet aromatics for me. I get vanilla. Definitely cooked milk. It definitely tastes cooked milk. It's really creamy, very buttery. So good. Towards the end, you're gonna get like roasted or coffee. I'm getting kind of like a mocha flavor, like a mocha flavor. And now I want coffee. What about you guys? What do you guys think? Definitely use those chat boxes and talk to each other about like what flavors. Everybody tastes things differently. So I might taste something that you're not tasting, or you might taste something that we're not tasting. And when you share that, it kind of makes you realize that there's so many other flavors that we might not be noticing until someone else says something about it. So it's really, really cool. All right, if you are done, remember you want to cleanse your palate with the water or drink of choice. All right. And if you are ready, and if you're not ready and you're still like letting that last piece melt, let it melt. We're going to take a little sweet moment here to celebrate. Happy birthday, Dylan. All right, let's get into our next piece. This is our dark chocolate chewy caramel. Ooh, look at that. So this design has the milk chocolate on the dark chocolate, similar to the raspberry, but opposite. And this one's going to be really chewy, really buttery. This one takes a little bit longer to enjoy. So remember, go slow. Smell. If you're having a hard time smelling, you can rub it again on the bottom like that and just smell the chocolate. That really helps to heighten your taste buds. Again, if you want to do that nose trick, we could do it again on this one. It's really fun. So you're going to plug your nose and take a bite. And release. You don't notice how, I'm getting tongue-tied because it's just, it's so good. It's really buttery. Like when you unplug your nose, you notice more of the butter, whereas when my nose was plugged, I noticed more chocolate, but I couldn't taste the caramel. And then when I unplugged, all of a sudden the caramel just kind of like rushes at you. So this one's really chewy, really creamy. This is another one of those pieces that's really fun to be to watch being made at the factory. When the chefs make it, they can tell just by the color and texture of it when it's finished, and then they'll hand pour it onto the cooling tables. And the cooling tables have like these pipes underneath them to keep the stainless steel table cold, and they also have these like little bars. And for all the different types of chocolate we have, they have like different thicknesses of bars, and the bars kind of snap into the table and frame the table out. And that way, when they're pouring that caramel onto the table, it's going to have just the right thickness that we need, so they can use all edges of the table, creating less scrap and also giving that thickness to the piece that we want. So if we were making like a bar, it'd be thicker, or if we're making brittle, or like if we're making caramel, they have different sizes. So once they pour it out and they cool it off, then they can score it. And they have like this rolling pin with blades on it, and they can roll through the caramel. And then they'll take the slab of caramel and they slide it through this other machine that feeds it through with a whole bunch of little blades like closer together. So you can kind of shape them how you want, and then it'll cut it and score it. And then they actually hand place it onto the conveyor belt before it goes through the curtain of chocolate, which is really cool. So what kind of flavors are you getting from this? I definitely got espresso. I definitely got like really rich buttery flavors, which were really good. This one was definitely a very good piece. We also have like a sea salt caramel, which is even, it's just, oh, it's amazing. When you add a little bit of salt to it, it's really cool. I always like to enjoy my caramels with a Zinfandel. This is a really good one with that. So if you are ready for the next one, go ahead and cleanse your palate. This one I'm very excited for. Personally, I think we saved the best for last because this is my #1 favorite piece out of every piece that we have. This one is our Coconut Delight. So you can see this one is very bumpy. It's very like free flowing. It doesn't look very uniform compared to the other pieces. It's kind of like they all have their own kind of shape to them. And it's really bumpy. It's just shredded coconut inside. So, so good. Let's try to see if you can smell the coconut, or can you just smell the chocolate? I can always just smell the chocolate. Coconut's a very strong flavor, but I can't smell it. I can just smell the chocolate in this one. It smells like there's something tropical about it, but like I can't quite figure out what it is, even though I know what it is. But if I was trying it for the first time, I wouldn't really know. All right, so let's dive on into this piece because I can't wait any longer. It's my favorite one. So good. I love the pieces. A lot of coconuts out there, chocolates, it's a cream with little tiny pieces in it, but this one is just shredded coconut. It's tropical. It's delicious. I just feel like I could be lounging on a beach with a tropical drink to match my coconut. out in the sun. Who knows? Maybe that's where you guys are when you're enjoying this piece. If you are, I'm jealous. So good. That's one of my favorite pieces. Number one favorite piece. So this one goes into a lot of different categories. It's like tropical, it goes into fruity, it goes into nutty, it goes into roasted. By the way, we want to know, what is your favorite piece that you tried today? So definitely let us know what was your favorite piece. Unfortunately, that was our last piece, so our tasting is over. It was so much fun. I hope you guys had fun. I had a lot of fun with you guys. I'm gonna turn it over back to Lauren, and she's gonna give you some fun stuff about what's coming up next.
Thank you so much, Tammy Jo.
You're welcome.
We'll go ahead and see what everyone's favorite pieces are. I know mine is personally the milk chocolate peanut butter. Hands down, I love how fresh the peanut butter tastes. I love the milk chocolate. I could eat probably an entire box of them, and I know because I have. So hands down my favorite. We do have a few questions that I want to ask you, Tammy Jo. You said that your favorite piece was coconut, but do you have any other favorite pieces for those who haven't been exposed to the brand as much?
Right. Okay. So my second favorite piece was actually the peanut butter. Another favorite of mine is a seasonal piece that we only have during Christmas, which is the crème de menthe. That one is really good. It's a liqueur and it's very, very minty. Oh my gosh, amazing. And we have pumpkin pie. It actually tastes like pumpkin pie, and it's in a white chocolate, and it looks like a little pie, and it's so cute. It's so good.
Awesome. And then one more question. Some consider white chocolate not as healthy as dark chocolate. Is the cocoa butter considered a healthy fat?
I don't know if it's considered a healthy fat, but I do know a little bit about why they say dark chocolate is healthier for you. Most of the time when you're looking at a darker chocolate and you're looking at that label, it has less sugar in it. And that's this is my personal opinion. I would say that's probably what is making it healthier for you. I've done a lot of research. I've eaten a lot of chocolate. I've looked at a lot of different types of dark chocolate, and the ones I find that are healthier for you, I would say, are the ones that have less sugar. So the higher the cocoa content, usually the less sugar, and so that's what makes it better for you. I don't know if the cocoa butter is a healthy fat, but I do know that there tends to be a little bit more sugar in the white chocolate, but we still love it.
Right. Perfect. And then I know a lot of people are saying they also love the peanut butter. They love the vanilla cream.
Yes.
We want to offer you all a 15% off discount that will be valid through the end of the weekend. We also have another tasting coming up next Thursday, and that is our schools out for summer tasting. So that one will be a little more kid-friendly, kid-focused. It is an allergy-free, nut-free tasting selection. But please feel free, even if you don't have kids, we'd love for you to join us again. We love doing this with you all. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining us, and have a safe and fun 4th of July.